All right, Larry.
Good morning, everybody. The time is 9:00 a.m. and today is Thursday, June 23rd, 2022. Call to order this meeting of the Alameda County Healthy Homes Joint Powers Authority Lead Poisoning Prevention Program. This meeting is being conducted via video conference pursuant to the provisions of Assembly Bill 361, which authorize exemptions to the Brown Act during the COVID pandemic. This board will make findings every 30 days that the pandemic and the state of emergency still exists, and that it is in the best interest of the health, safety, welfare of the public, our staff, and the members of this board to conduct meetings via video conference until such time as it is safe to return in person for the purposes of public health. That item will be up on the meeting today. If you wish to participate in this meeting, there is a Zoom link provided for in the agenda packet, which is located on the department's website. And you can join and provide public comment using the raise hand feature on Zoom, or using *9 by your telephone, and we will call on you at the appropriate time for comment. You may also submit electronic written comments to our board secretary, Ladice de la Fuente, at the email address provided for in today's agenda. So with that disclaimer, I will begin by asking, Ladice, would you please take the roll?
Yes, Director Hardy. Director Hardy absent. Director Brown or alternate Savas?
Present.
Savas present. Director Vela?
Present.
Vela present. Director Winruff?
Present.
Winruff present. Director Gallo?
Present, and go Warriors.
Gallo present. Director Wouters?
Present, and congratulations, Warriors. Okay.
Wouters present. Mr.
Thank
Chair,
you.
You have a quorum?
Thank you, Ladice. Now is the time for public comment. Members of the public who wish to comment for an item not on today's agenda will have an opportunity to do so. Did we receive any written comment cards in advance of today's meeting?
No written comment.
Okay, no hands being raised. Public comment is now closed. We'll move to agenda item 3, which is a resolution on AB 361, the Open Meetings, States and Local Agencies Resolution. Members, the findings require that a state of emergency still exists, and it does still exist, and that we find that it's in the safety, health, and wellness interests of our staff and the public that we continue to meet via video conference for the next 30-day period. Is there any public comment on this item? I see no public. Thank you. I see no public comment. Is there any discussion? I see none. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay, motion by Gallo, seconded by Vela to approve this resolution. Please call the roll.
Director Hardy? Hardy absent. Alternate Savas?
Yes.
Savas aye. Director Vela?
Aye.
Vela aye. Director Winruff?
Aye.
Winruff aye. Director Gallo?
Aye.
Gallo aye. Director Wouters?
Aye.
Wouters aye.
Okay, the motion carries. The resolution is approved. Thank you. Item 4 is the meeting minutes for May 26, 2022. Are there any corrections or annotations or notes or discussion? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Gallo, second by Wengraf to approve the minutes for May of 2022. Please call the roll.
Director Hardy? Hardy absent. Alternate Savas?
Yes.
Savas aye. Director Vela?
Aye.
Vela aye. Director Winruff?
Aye.
Winruff aye. Director Gallo?
Aye.
Gallo aye. Director Wouters?
Aye.
Wouters aye.
Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Item 5 is the director's report. Director Brooks.
Okay, let's see here. Can everyone see my screen?
We can see the agenda.
Okay, great. Okay, let's switch over to this then, and we'll get started. So, good morning, directors. It is June, and June is National Healthy Homes Month. So the Healthy Homes Department has been focusing quite a bit on outreach, marketing, making people aware of the principles of healthy housing, and just getting people to understand more about the services we provide, which includes lead poisoning prevention. We're participating in a lot of things on social media. California Healthy Housing Coalition, the National Center for Healthy Housing. We're participating in a number of different media events, social media events like the Twitter chat with regards to this being National Healthy Homes Month. And so, in fact, our presentation today, most of the slides are devoted to some of the work that you all are doing with regards to healthy housing. So For example, I know last month I bragged about an article I read that said that Director Botter's career basically started based on a tweet that went viral. And director warned me about, don't believe everything that you read. But in this case, I think I can believe this because it came from Congresswoman Barbara Lee. And it talks about how she went and paid a visit with you at a site where there's going to be future affordable housing. And we know that that's going to be healthy housing. So we wanted to acknowledge that and acknowledge you for your work that you're doing with healthy housing, not just June for Healthy Housing Month, but just throughout the years. That's what you do. So we wanted to acknowledge that. Then we also wanted to acknowledge Director Wingraf, who sent a letter of support to Senator Archuleta and copied Nancy Skinner. Well, actually, Director Wingraf, you had your city council approve the letter that went in support of the Senate Bill 1076, the lead-based paint bill, which is going to go a long ways and again, helping to promote healthy housing. So we wanted to again, acknowledge you for all the work that you do with regards to healthy housing. And this is just one example of that. With regards to Director Gallo, we wanted to acknowledge the work that Oakland is doing with regards to race and equity and how that plays into housing. There was a segment that ran pretty much all day where your deputy city attorney and your director of race and equity did like a 15-minute interview with Cron 4 News discussing the work that is being done with regards to race and equity. Your city council I guess, approved a resolution declaring racism a public health crisis. And so they were going through explanations as to why that was so and what was being done by the city to address those issues. And we know with regards to public health, health and housing go together. And again, wanted to acknowledge you in the city of Oakland for doing that. I know that race and equity is going to play a huge role in how the lead settlement dollars are expended in the city of Oakland. At the same time that your city council approved this resolution, you also gave the Oakland city staff the authority to begin to use the $4.7 million of the settlement that has already come to Oakland. That was the 20% of the roughly $23 million that was to go directly to Oakland. There's another 40% that is to be spent in Oakland after negotiations with the city of Oakland staff. And I did reach out right after the city council approved or gave the city staff the authority to spend that $4.7 million. I did reach out, congratulate Latonda Simmons, the deputy city administrator who heads up the negotiations team, and made her aware of the fact that we're ready to sit down and negotiate the other 40% whenever they're ready. In addition, I sent them a document describing or outlining what we're doing outside of Oakland and all the other cities in the unincorporated county, our plan of action for the use of our 40% of that $23 million. Just to give them something that might be useful in helping them to develop their spending plan, or just as information to help in terms of negotiations with the city of Oakland. So we'll keep you abreast of that as well. With regards to legislation, this is pretty good. Even though it doesn't take effect until July 1, it still definitely has a lot to do with healthy housing. And that is this new law that came out of Assembly Bill 838, which will require all local governments to respond to complaints about substandard conditions, which includes lead hazards. So I've been doing quite a bit of work with the California Association of Code Enforcement Officers and the building inspectors, the International Code Council, to make all jurisdictions aware of this responsibility, which I believe is not going to have as big an impact on your cities because you are already responding to tenant complaints about substandard housing, but there are other cities and the unincorporated area of the county that do not have mechanisms set up to do these responses. So we're trying to get everybody geared up, including the county itself, in terms of either setting up something in the Public Works Department or within the Planning Department to respond to complaints about substandard conditions. $20 million is being donated to Detroit for a home repair fund. And I bring this up because within the county, we are also planning to do some home repair activities. Our Housing Community Development Department is providing us with ARPA money to do some minor home repair work. It was to coincide with a proactive rental inspection program, which you see over on the right. You can see the distribution of the ARPA funds. But the planning department at this point in time will not be developing a proactive program, but in keeping in line with the new state law requiring that they respond to tenant complaints, they will move in that direction first, with the hope that by doing complaint response, they will then gather enough data in order to maybe come back to the Board of Supervisors later on and ask for a proactive rental inspection program. But the way this is being set up is that they or Public Works will respond to tenant complaints, identify substandard conditions, and in some instances, depending upon if the tenants meet income eligibility standards, they will be able to receive some home repair funds. Of course, we'd have to get the landlord's permission to do the repairs, but we're thinking that if a notice of violation is given to a landlord and they're told, here's your violations, these are the things that need to be repaired, but we do have some ARPA funds available to make the repairs on your rental properties. We're thinking that they'll, at least in some instances, they'll jump at that. But of course, the amount of money is not that much when you really look at it in light of what's going on in other places like Detroit and Cleveland, where they've got foundations that are working with these public-private partnerships in order to generate millions and millions of dollars in order to help get homes repaired, not only rental units, but also owner-occupied units. And so that is one of the things that I'll be talking about a little bit later in this presentation. I'll get to what that means to me. We also just got through working on some commercials with Univision. This is in fact part of that enhanced services outline that we shared with the City of Oakland in terms of what we're trying to do with the lead settlement dollars, and in terms of getting the word out that there'll be settlement dollars and ARPA money available to make repairs to address substandard conditions, but also our messages in terms of workforce development, that there's going to be opportunities to do training in lead safe work practices, especially if Senator Archuleta's bill becomes law, which we are very hopeful. It just passed the Judiciary Committee this week in the Assembly. If it gets past the Appropriations Committee, then it will go to an Assembly floor vote. It's already gone through the Senate side, so it would then go to the governor's desk. If it becomes law, then code enforcement will have the responsibility of making sure that all laborers are doing lead safe work practices. And so we want to get the word out right away that we're going to have lead settlement money in order to promote that type of one-day lead safety training. So that was part of the efforts that was done with Univision. And I really, before I go there, want to acknowledge Univision for the fact that when we approached them with the idea of public service announcements, they took it to another level with us in terms of public service announcements are a tricky thing. A lot of television networks will tell you that, yeah, we have an obligation to do public service announcements, but you still have to pay for the production. And oh, by the way, after you pay for the production, it'll run at 3 o'clock in the morning. So if you want it to run at a time when you can really reach a big audience, you're still going to have to pay. Univision really, I think, treated us very well in terms of that, and went a step further and said, oh, not only do we want you to do a public service announcement, but we feel we have an obligation to help our community as well. So we're going to set you up in order to be on some of these television shows and radio shows and talk about lead poisoning prevention. And so that's why you see Rosa there in the commercial that they helped set up for us. If you look over towards the lower left corner, you see our Healthy Homes staff member Ruben Briones that's doing an interview on one of their network shows. So just really want to applaud Univision for helping us go the extra mile. And we know that with the lead settlement dollars, when we do this kind of stuff, it has a impact, a ripple effect throughout the whole Bay Area. So that's one of the reasons I'm telling the other counties when they're using their lead settlement dollars, let's coordinate so that when we're doing something maybe on television, maybe you're doing something on radio or something on print media, so that we don't duplicate our efforts and spend money on something when we could really coordinate this. And that is part of also the message that we're giving City of Oakland in terms of negotiating the use of the settlement money is, let's come up with a plan that allows for coordination so that we're not duplicating efforts like this in terms of outreach and education. Okay, along those same lines, we got word that the county will allow us to do some public service messages on some of the digital reader boards that are located in the unincorporated county. This one is located out near Castro Valley. So that'll be something that we'll be able to do, and it's not really even going to cost us any settlement dollars to do so. But again, this will be a great way for us to get our key messages out in terms of getting homes tested, getting children tested, getting people trained in lead safe work practices. So those are some of our major messages, and we hope to be able to do some things in the very near future with the billboards to do that. And then we are working with some of the companies that do billboards within the incorporated portions of the county, such as City of Oakland, to see if we can also work out some type of deals where we can do some public service announcements about lead poisoning prevention. I wanted to acknowledge this person here. This is a picture. It was the very first Facebook picture I saw of Healthy Homes when I was deciding whether or not to come work for Healthy Homes. This was back in 2013. This is Yumi Ashita, who came to work at Healthy Homes back in 2001 and started as a housing community development technician and then promoted up to a 2. Yumi is retiring, and it's with mixed emotions that I feel upon her retirement. I'm happy for her, but I'm also very sad, and this is why. Yumi has often been the first contact with the Lead Hazard Repair Grant Program when someone responds to our e-blasts or Facebook posts or our flyers or whatever. And she's always been that professional, welcoming face and voice that is usually the first face and voice that is seen or heard by the public. The Lead Hazard Repair Grant Program has a variety of requirements, and everyone's situation is different, and we serve a very diverse community. But Yumi has just had that phenomenal ability to listen and hear people's questions and concerns and kind of walk them through all of the different mazes that you have to go through in order to get a lead hazard control grant. And during the COVID pandemic, this really became much, much more difficult. And yet she was able to figure out a way to help us out. Just a review of some of her projects going back to 2009 when we started our new database for tracking these projects. She has worked on and helped approve over 700 housing units for lead hazard repair programs. Not to mention all the other clients that she's been able to help us out with in terms of coordination of resources and lead safety training and housing principle training. And she's worked also with contractors to get them approved for training programs. It's just always been her ability to patiently work with clients that has resulted in us getting lots and lots of letters complimenting her and the department. I say if Dale Hagan, who she works with, our deputy director, who is considered like the guru of lead hazard control across the nation, if Dale is the Batman of lead hazard control, Yumi has been the Batwoman of lead hazard control. And so she's been such an integral part of our reputation that in retiring, it's like we're literally trembling at what are we going to do when she's gone. But we still wish her the very best in this next phase of her life. So just wanted to acknowledge Yumi upon her retirement at the end of this month. Next, this relates back to the Detroit $20 million that they've raised to do home repairs. As you've heard before, I've been consulted with by Detroit and Pittsburgh and Cleveland and a whole bunch of other people, including the National League of Cities, on ways to do healthy housing. And one of the things I'm always emphasizing is we have to build more public-private partnerships, because there's never going to be enough government money if you're really serious about eradicating lead poisoning. You got to build these partnerships. The National League of Cities has asked me on a couple occasions to come to Washington, D.C. and meet with some of their leaders and talk about strategies. And usually I'll bring somebody from Oakland with me. This year, I'm not going to get to do that. Primarily because they don't want me to talk about proactive rental inspections, which is what I usually do when I go to DC. This time they're sending me to Phoenix, Arizona for a special convening with like 3 or 4 dozen leaders from across the country to talk about how do we do this in terms of building up public-private partnerships to address lead poisoning prevention. So I will not be at the JPA meeting in July because unfortunately I have to go to Phoenix, Arizona, which I'm not really that excited about because they don't have mask mandates and COVID rates are going up. But I am being asked by some folks who I really have a great deal of respect for, and they say, we really need you. And so I'm going. So just wanted to let you all know that. And then my last slide is the Legislative Analyst's Office. Met with them just a couple of weeks ago about, I think I've shared with the JPA before that the California Department of Public Health Child Lead Poisoning Prevention Branch wants to replace their child lead poisoning tracking system with a new database. And unfortunately, their Department of Technology believes that that database should cost them somewhere in the range of $40 million. And when I checked with other states' child lead poisoning prevention branches, they were able to show me data that says such a database should only cost maybe $4 million. And so I did express my concerns all the way up to the head of the Department of Public Health, as well as to a number of different organizations that I work with. And it made its way to Assemblymember Ray's office, and she wrote a letter, and not demanding, but suggesting that it would be better for the state to use some of their surplus money as opposed to taking $26 million out of the Child Lead Poisoning Prevention Fund to build this new database. Her letter prompted the Legislative Analyst's Office to reach out to me and discuss my concerns. The Legislative Analyst's Office concluded that, at least for now, the Department of Technology will receive $13 million to work on their new database, but that they will be discussing with them next year how much money do they really need in order to build this new database system. So I kind of feel like At least I was able to stop the bleeding on this. 13 million isn't 40 million. And I should clarify, the 40 million is $26 million from the Child Lead Poisoning Prevention Fund and then a federal match. And my argument to the Legislative Analyst's Office was, number one, I think it's too much money. Number two, if it's really necessary, then don't take it from the Child Lead Poisoning Prevention Fund, because that money is supposed to go to all counties' child lead poisoning prevention programs. So take it from the general fund if it's really, really needed. Unfortunately, the Legislative Analyst's Office, in meeting with the California Department of Public Health to express my concerns, their response was, oh no, all the counties have all the money that they need to do child lead poisoning prevention. It's okay for us to go ahead and target this $26 million for a new database system. So that was their response to the Legislative Analyst's Office. And that was the reason why they said, okay, we need to investigate this further, but at least for now, the $13 million that has already been allocated will go to the Department of Technology. But we want to work with you, Larry, on coming up with some questions that we can ask going into the next fiscal year. So that's where we stand on that. And that is the last slide. That concludes my report. Are there any questions? You're muted, Director Botters.
Thank you very much, Director Brooks. Members of the board, are there any questions regarding the director's report? Director Vella.
Just a question on the last slide for Director Brooks. I mean, I think it's good that the majority leader, it's always good that the majority leader steps in, and certainly having Majority Leader Reyes step in is helpful. For the follow-up, will you continue to keep us updated on that and how we might be able to assist as well? I don't know if like a letter from our board or something like that would be helpful when the time comes.
Yes, I will. And I think that will be helpful too.
Okay, are there others who have questions or comments on this report? I'll just note that the other shitty thing about going to Arizona in July is that it's hot as hell. Someone who works there, it is hot as hell in July and August. And if you aren't familiar with monsoon and haboob season, you are going to potentially find out. So Godspeed to you, Mr. Brooks. Yeah, I have no additional questions or comments myself. So thank you for that report and update. Is there any public comment on the director's report?
No public comment.
Thank you. Seeing none, we'll move to item 6, which is the May monthly report.
Okay. So the May monthly, the report is actually not complete. Those activities will be reported to you at the July meeting. However, I do have some highlights in regards to some tabling events that we did in May.
Okay.
We did a few actually. So the education and engagement team is very excited to be engaged with the public again. We attended an event at the Lao Family Care Campus Open House, and that was in East Oakland and on East Avenue. We also did the Oakland Housing Authority Owner Appreciation. We did a presentation and also a tabling event. And we did other outreach events that were, tabling events in the unincorporated county and also other events in Oakland. In regards to our digital media, Google Ads, this campaign is performing over 2 times as good as the national average for search ads, getting both clicks and phone calls, and also the email subscription. We have an open rate. Our open rate is 48% and the national average is 21%. So we're doing very well in that. So our audience is very engaged with our messaging. Those are the highlights that I have for the May monthly report.
Okay, are there any questions or comments in the May monthly report? Is there any public comment on the May monthly report?
No public comment.
Okay, then we'll move to agenda item 7, future agenda items. Are there any future agenda items that members wish to request? No, I just have one question, which is the July meeting. I understand you're not going to be at the July meeting. The July meeting, just as a reminder for everybody, is not at our normal time. It is the week before. We moved it to July 21st, I believe is the date.
Yes,
And it is at a different time. It's at 10 a.m., not 9 a.m. So if you haven't put it in your calendar, I would recommend, we're all here right now, July 21st, 10 o'clock is our special meeting time for next month's meeting. Thank you all for accommodating that. Director Brooks, given that it is an unusual time and others will have obligations and you're gone, maybe we can talk offline about what needs to be covered in the meeting in terms of what has to versus can be held. There is no August meeting, as a reminder. Also, we're off that month, so that will be that. So no future agenda items being requested. That moves us to agenda item number 8, which is announcements by members of the board of directors. Are there any members who wish to announce anything? Events, special invites? No? Okay. That moves us to adjournment. The time is 9:30 a.m. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for being here, and happy Pride Month for those who will go out and celebrate Pride this weekend, and happy Juneteenth as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
We will stop the recording, but Director Botters, do you want me to